Manrique Larduet, set for his high bar effort. One of the lead competitors from Cuba. First in the vault, second all around at last year's Pan American Championships in nearby Mississauga, Ontario.
And everyone is excited about this athlete because he can fly and he does some very difficult skills.
Right now, the judges have a big job on their hands. They have to look at the difficulty score and the execution score. And it has to be exactly right.
He will definitely factor not only in the all-around, but in an event finals as well. You know, you don't see them on the world stage that often, but when they do come out to play, they are showing it off today.
And a pretty good finish from Manrique Larduet of Cuba. Known for vault and his effort in the all-around competition previously, but a nice effort on the high bar.
I'm thinking he's known for everything. This was a wild high bar set, filled with difficulty, and he did it very well. A lot of people are going to be worried about this guy. Look at that triple twisting dismount, just a small hop, but hey, he did 3 twists.
And he didn't seem happy. You said it was very difficult, and he executed it quite nicely. He got the crowd on his side. Manrique Larduet of Cuba, who thrilled us earlier on the high bar.
Well, that's how you do it. As he will in this entire exercise, he can fly. He has such power, such skill. Look at that. He's figured it out.
Doesn't budge a fraction on those landings.
Didn't take the audience long either, did it?
Little hop there, but he's got them on his side for sure.
Just amazing talent. I've watched some of his routines. Oh, wow. His amplitude, his power.
When you talk amplitude, you're talking height?
His height. He's clean. He's exciting.
And he's a perfectionist, judging by his body language. Because after the high bar, he gave himself a little slap of the hands, an aw shucks, and he seemed to do it a little bit there on the finish on the floor. May have hurt himself a little bit too. He seemed to favor his one side coming off.
Such ease in his tumbling. Look at this. He practically walks into it. That's a double front pike. Bam! Doesn't move. He just knows where he is. He's cat-like in the air. Look at that. Blind landing. Okay, a little bit of a hop there. That was the one tumbling pass and his final one.
Now in the pommel horse, as he hits the midway mark of his night's work. Speed, very crisp.
He just needs to keep the momentum going. He's very careful with all his movements. You can see he's thinking throughout. A little bit of leg separation there. I can do that because he's a good athlete. You know, if I'm thinking about it, he's going to be thinking about it at the very end. A little bit labored there on his dismount, but he survived.
Manrique Larduet of Cuba, so impressive in his first 2 rotations. Solid performance there, but I think, again, we talked about him pushing himself, and he knows there's another gear.
Well, it's good that he's pushing himself because this is by far one of the most difficult events for him. It is not easy. It is not easy for many athletes, and he is not an event specialist here. You can see he labors to get up to that handstand to complete the rotation on his dismount. You can see it in his face. He knows.
And now to rings and the standout of the night, Manrique Larduet of Cuba.
This should be a great exercise. He has quite a high level of difficulty planned. Look at that, like a table.
Trying to get into that all-important vault final, showing the judges two completely different vaults.
Oh, and a hop at the end.
And he knew it. He knows all his time. He wants perfection. That's what's so great about this athlete.
4 rotations and 4 slaps of the hands at the end for Larduet after very, very strong performances that just have a slight bit of room for improvement.
Gosh, I love that combination right there. The swinging elements right to the handstand, stop right on a dime. There's that iron cross, maybe a little bit lower. Could have managed to go down just a tad bit.
$15.4 for Larduet. Cuba, first in the vault at last year's Pan Am Championship.
This will be big. Come on down. Huge.
He had all kinds of height, but difficulty settling it all down when he hit back to earth.
Absolutely. Look at that. Sky high. He just has to learn when to open up to try to stick a landing. Certainly doesn't lack for height. Look at the power. Look at the twisting action. Clean right until there. Kind of pulled his body, piked it down just a little bit too early. He could have stayed in a stretched, laid out position just a little bit longer and might have had a better landing. But it's a huge vault.
$15.2 for Larduet on the first vault. How about the second?
Should be of a similar value.
And more difficulty on the landing. He's trying to harness that energy and power.
Just needs to hold on to that straight laid out body position a little bit longer. He's too anxious to get his feet on the ground. But he certainly does not lack power or height, and he goes for it. That's what's so amazing. He's willing to try these vaults that have a high level of difficulty.
And it's a process for these athletes. 14.95 the average for Larduet.
Different vaults. The judges will add the scores together and give him an average.
Well, here's the star of the night so far, Manrique Larduet of Cuba on the parallel bars, and he is the guy to finish it off for them. They're looking for something to put them into the podium spots.
Wow. Every time I see him, he just seems to get a little better with each competition, and he hasn't been in very many. Everyone counts.
So explosive.
Well, this is pure, raw, natural talent. And he has somehow figured out how to compete on an international stage without the resume behind him. Awesome. Oh, my goodness.
What a finish for
Look at
Larduet
that.
of Cuba. And after so many pounding of his hands together earlier in the night, with I could have been just that much better, this time he says, come on, folks, you got to admit, that was all right.
Superb skill level throughout the routine. He was just right on. Every movement, beautifully done. I love that skill. Travels the full length of the parallel bar, but this was the highlight for me. Double front with a half twist, looks for the landing, sticks it cold, gives himself a hand, and then eggs on the audience. Hey, come on, what did you think?
And great reaction from the Cuban coaching staff in the distance, too. Wanting him to finish his night off well because it had been so good to that point, and also understanding the larger scope of things. Very impressive from Larduet. So a Cuban team that was largely unknown coming into the night shows it's got some youth on the rise, learning on the job, and it's got some real international talent. What did the judges see from the effort of Larduet?
Well, he certainly left them with the lasting impression of that stuck landing. That's the last thing they remember. That's the last thing I remember.
And the way he did it, he wanted everybody to remember.
Based on that, that was a 10. He's good. He's very, very good.
And they're being very careful about what they're doing here, the technical staff. Larduet 15.6 on the parallel bars. Any sense of what this discussion is about?
Not quite certain. I'm a little bit shocked at the 8.9 for execution, I have to say. I didn't quite see a lot that was wrong in that